ourselves attracting the right audience more for now, and in the future we all want to validate there's like to be inclusive. But now I have to be like talking directly to my audience. So yeah, that's about me.
Nikki, you touched on the fact that it's only been in the past 5 or 6 years that this awareness has heightened. What do you think is really now?
I think, to be honest, a lot of people didn't feel like they had the opportunity to talk or the space, and with things like Instagram, social media, whether it's with writing and things like that, I just feel like people have that safe space now where they're able to express their feelings. And also I just feel like people have had enough. Like, people just want to be more positive and like are accepting of other people. Because listen, like I don't know everything about everyone. I don't say that I do, but I think if you have that conversation, it's a healthy thing to have. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to be like wondering about other ethnicities, other races, whatever it may be. I think it's just it should be a safe space where people are able to discuss things and just keep an open mind, because every person's different, no one's the same, and as long as you have that like empathy towards other people, I feel like you can't really go wrong from there.
That word empathy, I want to come back to that because that's ultimately what inclusivity cultivates, right? So, do either of you have any words around that? Any I guess, insights into why this is heightened, or for you personally, why you know, what you think has driven this topic? Because everybody's talking about it.
I think it's like when I first started, like, you know, for me, I'm Chinese, so this is like not, I didn't even can find a word for body positive or curvy in my Chinese language, so this is a whole new culture to me. When this made me feel so, you know, interested and wanted to, you know, work for this, the first time I went to Fashion Week, this photographer stopped me. He's like, oh, you know, where are you from? I said, I'm Chinese. He's like, oh, then no way you're Asian. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, you're too curvy for Asian. And from that moment, I was like, oh, the stereotype of how people realize by the way how you look, they, you know, decide who you are in their mind, is something like I got so interested and I started digging into and work on this. And I'm so glad for it. You know, the whole industry and the whole society is like getting very positive about this. And it's become more and more trendy, which is I'm very grateful. Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit before this, and I mentioned how I originally started in the entertainment industry. I was an actor and a model in LA, and it was great. I was on like the fast track. But my managers, my agents, all my representation were gay themselves and told me at 24, you can't come out, you're not going to come out, they're going to keep you with a fake girlfriend, you're going to go to straight acting classes, like crazy stuff. And this was just 7 years ago. And in that moment, I was just like, I could never not live my truth, knowing that I would be perpetuating something that would hurt a younger me. And I think that we've all, like you said, kind of come to a breaking point. And when you find your truth, there's nothing more powerful than sitting in it. And right now, one of the actual trends, and I don't know if anyone took the panel I was on yesterday, but it's happiness. Like, what brands are going after is happiness and positivity. That's why we see all these shirts with love and gratitude and all these things. It's part of our trend. But I think the beautiful thing is, like, we're at a point where trends aren't going to exist as much because we all have our own brands where we're promoting the styles that we like and want, and brands are now catering to us versus us trying to like fit into their stuff. And so now that we're living a healthy life, mind, body, soul, you know, working out is trendy, eating well is trendy. Taking care of yourself isn't just trendy, it's like a smart, healthy thing, and once you find it, you feel incredible. And I think that we're at that tipping point where we're not going to go backwards. And for all the, you know, bad stuff happening in the world, it's actually like the safest time to be alive. And I like to put that out there because it's hard to remember that like the world is beautiful and there's so many amazing good people out there.
So to your point then that, you know, it's the safest time to be alive, do you think that this idea of inclusivity is important and authenticity is important? And I think your point about branding is really interesting because I see a lot of brands who are kind of grasping for those words. But are there tangible shifts that are, I guess, translated from that awareness or that wanting to like tack on to something that's trendy, like happiness, or have you felt those, and it's different for you guys, I guess, in the way that you've all, you've taken really strong strides to develop that side of yourselves. But do you see those shifts happening kind of in a wider culture, as opposed to, oh, it's inclusivity, it's trendy, it's happiness, it's trendy? Do you see the shifts happening tangibly?
I think if you look at the younger generation, I think it's what Gen Z is like, the underneath millennials, everything for them is political.
Yeah.
So how you wear your hair, where you hang out, who you hang out with, they don't really hold on to labels as much. Again, I'm speaking from a Western standpoint, but I think we are seeing it more and more throughout the world, and it's, for me, like, the coolest thing to meet kids that are like, I'm queer, and that doesn't mean that I don't like boys or I don't like girls. I just don't like, I need to give you a label. And like, we're watching the world become more globalized, so it's global and local at the same time, which means that we're getting these beautiful mixes of cultures and fashion and human beings, and I think that that's like where we're heading in some ways, like the actual tangibleness of all of this.
I think as a writer, it's very interesting to see brands, I guess, follow these trends, whether it is just embracing inclusivity or just talking about races, diversity, like whatever it may be. It's interesting to me because I feel like some brands have done a really great job of honing in on what their audience wants, because in the end, I think they need to understand, like, you need to cater to your audience. And in the end, if you don't do that, like, why would they care about your brand when there's other brands that are inclusive? And I love brands like Aerie who have been, I guess, in the forefront of the whole talk and like making that happen, and now other brands are slowly catching on as well, which is great. But I think it's more at a superficial level right now, and I think as the conversation keeps going, like hopefully it'll be more ingrained in the brands itself.
Yeah.
So hopefully in time, I think a great example also is like Rihanna's Fenty line. She was one of the first people who was like, you know what, I know who my market is. I'm going to get mannequins that represent all different shapes and sizes, not just have the clothes, but show it in my stores of how it will look like on people of all different sizes, which I think is such a great idea, and more brands should be thinking in that mindset. And I think as more brands continue to do this, hopefully it will keep progressing. But I still think we have a long way to go.
Yeah, just add on what you just said. I feel like, when I started like about four years ago, like people care about the physical positive, like body positive a lot. Oh, size. And now I feel lots of brands starting to care about the mental health, the mental body, like positive more. I think that's, I don't like the words it's a trend, because I believe it's a thing gonna go in forever. So the more I feel, if any brands out there just want to follow the trend to, make it for money reason, for marketing reason, that's fine for now, but it won't last. You have to truly believe it, and not just carry it from, by the, physical way, but also like care how your customer want it from a mental standpoint. Like, that's what it's gonna be for the next 5 or 10 years, or for the long run. That's what I feel, yeah.
Absolutely. I love, Nikita, that you brought up Aerie, who are a brand taking strides and are really true to what they promote. It's funny, I scribbled down something that is for Lawrence, who is one of their brand ambassadors, and I've worked with Aerie a few times, and I've interviewed her a few times in a similar format, and she said something so that really just stuck with me. She said, if you don't see yourself represented, then be that representation.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so valid for what we're talking about today. And I feel like that relates to all of you, but I'm going to let you answer. How does that sit with you, that statement?
I've actually chatted with Iskra about that also, and I just love how open she is, and she isn't afraid to take a stand and kind of just put haters in their place when she has to, and just say, like, this is who I am. Like, I'm not going to change who I am just to please other people. And I feel like she's done a really great job with that. And for me, growing up as an Indian girl, it was like very hard because there's so many different stereotypes. Like, I probably get this like once a day, even when I tell like some of my parents' friends, like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, oh, you're not a doctor? Oh, you don't want to be in business? And I'm like, I mean, I get that quite a bit. So I feel like for me, it was a little bit hard to follow the path that I wanted to and be like, hey guys, I actually want to be be a writer and I want to work in fashion. So it was a little bit hard at first, but I'm glad I work in a safe space where at Pop Sugar, they always encourage me to write what I want to write about. So like even if I'm like, hey, there's this really cool Bollywood actress named Deepika who's doing really great stuff just like Priyanka is, and there's so many other more people out there, they're always like, you know what, go for it, write what you want to write about, like speak your own truth essentially. And it's just great that once you're open like that, then you get a lot of people coming back to you saying like, wow, like I wish more people would do stuff like this, because you know it's hard being out there and feeling like you're alone almost, and like no one else kind of sees who you are. So yeah.
I definitely find that, because I represent like Asian plus size women. This is very rare in the industry. You know, you look at the plus size model fashion industry, because all, I don't want to say, maybe it's all white girls or some Latino black girls, but like you don't see an Asian representative. Made lots of people think there's Asians all skinny. They give people this kind of stereotype, which is not true. They need a representative. That's why I think I need to be the one stand up for this. And just back to like what I just talked about, the photographer story. He's the representative of all of the people. Their stereotype of how Asians supposed to be look like, who like Asian women are more shy, like all this stereotype. You know, we was talking before. It's more about our culture. Our like cultures like tell the girls to speak less, all that, like to be more ladylike in public, give more credit to the father, to the brother, all that. But like in the end, I feel like 90% of the family in Asia is mostly women making decisions at home. At least my mom, what to buy house, buy car, those big decisions is mostly women make those decisions in Asian country, but they always give the credit to the husband. This is something I wanted to the people outside the Asian country to see the fact, which is, they're smart women, they're all kind of body type women, and yeah, we have opinion, we're Asian. That's what I stand for, basically.
Just, based off of the first kind of like, be the thing that you want to see. Can everyone hear me? I think I'm kind of low. Again, we were talking a little bit before as you try to like get to know people. And when I came out, which at this point I really like the word fluid, because again I don't want labels and boxes, but it like clicked for me that in some way we all have a moment in our lives that we have to come out and make a decision about how we want to share ourselves with the world. And it doesn't have to be your sexuality, it could be your family struggle, it could be about your race, it could be about body, size, whatever it is. There's something that we all struggle with. And when you are able to relate and be honest about not just your highlight reel, but your low reel, everyone's like, oh, thank you. Like, we try to portray like the best moments in our lives, because it is pretty, and it is prettier to be on a sunny beach than a rainy beach. But it's gonna rain on a beach just like it's gonna be sunny on a beach, and it's so nice to see, like, again, we're 4 different people from different parts of the world, and there's the ability to have 50 more with completely different takes on life and opinions and their stories and their hikes. And I don't know, I'm just really excited for this moment in life, because I remember, again, I don't know if you guys, I'm going to assume everyone can relate up here on the panel, but like, as a kid, to not see yourself represented and think that there's one way for you to be and you don't fit into that mold, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen to me, and that's scary. So to think that we can help, again, a younger generation, but even the older generation, start to find their voice is just the most humbling experience.
I love everything you just said, and I feel like it relates back to this point of empathy that we touched on earlier. And I think for me, inclusivity means stepping outside of yourself and saying that person doesn't look like me, they don't have my experience, they've been through things that I haven't been through, and accepting that and considering them. And I would love to hear what that heightened sense of empathy can do for you in terms of your personal character, but also from a branding perspective. If you're truly in line with that, and if you are truly considering what representation means holistically. How does empathy strengthen you as an individual and from a business point of view?
I I think when you can look at another human being and go, I see you, I hear you, I feel what you feel, it changes your whole life. And again, that moment, I keep going back to this moment of finding your truth. I'm really into the whole spiritual, soulful thing. It changes your life, and once you find that, you just can't go back. And I think, like you were saying, brands are slowly finding that, but it's a slow process because it is mostly run by straight white men still. And like, I'm still a white man though, so I'm still up here being like, I have so much to learn too. And I think it's important to sit here and go, I don't know everything. I need to learn. I want to learn. Like, I didn't even think there really aren't Asian plus size girls out there. And I was like, light bulb, like what a learning moment, an aha Oprah moment, right? And it's just so important to sit here and be like, I don't know. And I think our politicians are so bad at being like, I don't know the answer, so I'm just gonna make up an answer, and I'm not speaking about one, I'm speaking about many. And it's become something that a few of them have done and like been called out for. They're like, I'm not gonna sit here and give you some sort of fake fact. Like, I want you to fully understand. Again, going just back to the empathy in terms of branding. When your brand is aligned with a brand, it's an effortless collaboration, and things just become, again, I love the word like magic.
Yeah. So I think in general, it's when you are empathetic towards other people and you look at them and you're like, okay, I understand what you're saying, you just build a bond that wasn't there before. So like in the end, it's just, you need to just understand like everyone is different. Even other Indian girls out there, for example, I may not know what they've gone through, so each person has their own little path that they go down. So it's just important to take yourself out of that moment and put yourself in their shoes, as cliche as it may sound for a second. Especially like writing every single day, like news moves so fast, so sometimes like we all have to remind ourselves like, okay, before you put this story out, take a second to like really see what you're writing about. Like, how does it affect the person that you're talking about? Because I just see sometimes publications just putting out all this negative content out there, and I'm like, how would you feel really if someone said that to you? It's like the same thing with social media. Like if you're commenting negative stuff on other people's platforms, like would you want that same hate back? So I think having that empathy there for other people in the end just makes you a better person, professionally and personally.
So back to the personal and business standpoint, I find this really wow to me because how many brands out there after they work with me, they're like, before you, I don't even know. There's a huge, process marketing in Asia. We don't even think about that until you showed up. And because we use your photo, we work with you. There's so many Asian customers join us because before they didn't even notice our brands. I think this is like, all the representatives out there, when brands meet the representative, they need a whole group. It's not just one of them, it's the whole group behind it. I think it's like for brands, work with unique representative is very important because, I understand every brand have your main target brand image, idea, but you might touch point of some unique niche market that will bring you surprise. I think that's very important for brands not to branch out to new audience. Yeah.
Merritt, I love what you said about people wanting to feel heard. I think it's actually really rare to have a conversation with somebody and for them to actually really listen to you. And I think it's a branding exercise to actually say, well, what are you in a leadership exercise? Great leaders listen. And if you're a brand and you want to be a leader, and if you want to be a good friend and you want to be a leader in whatever environment that you're in, and you want to uplift those people around you, I think listening and actually hearing people is really, really important. I'd love to answer or have you guys ask some questions in a moment. I guess first, is there any parting words that you'd like to leave with our audience, or if there's somebody struggling with that loneliness of feeling like a minority and stuck trying to get to that truth but aren't sure how, what would you say to them?
I think one of the most important things to remember is you don't know what you don't know. So be open to being open and being uncomfortable, because the greatest change in your life comes when you are uncomfortable. And I mean that physically, mentally, and spiritually. And ask questions. I'd rather have you ask maybe a dumb question, which again, there's no such thing, right? Than just go on with your semi-educated thought on a specific topic that I might be better educated to telling you the answer to. And just remember that we're all humans here trying to have the same experience, which is about like peace, love, and community. If you can give a little bit of gratitude every day, your life is just that much more simple and better. And while we are here to like promote things, it's really about coming together into this giant collective community of one thing, which is the human race. So it's not just us.
There's that really nice saying, it's like we're all just walking each other home. It's kind of what that reminds me of.
I would just want them to know, like, you're not alone. And also, it is hard to be that first person to step up and say something that maybe hasn't been said before, and it may be a little scary, but just knowing that by you doing that, there may be somebody else who ends up with a more positive experience from that. That's all that matters in the end. So it's all about just being true to yourself and not being afraid to ask questions, say things that mean something towards you, and just, in the end, just remember, you can just be a little more positive towards people in your everyday life too. So it's not something that you just have to do in the workplace or outside. It's just something that you can work on as a person, with your friends, with your family, and just go from there.
I would say just stay true to who you are. That's from my personal experience, and also to all my, like, whoever interested to see my content topic. It's like, no matter the environment you grow up, your parents, your friends, whatever they say, if that's not what you disagree, stay true with yourself. That's very important. Like, not to go with the flow, not to just fit in, try to fit in to be fit in. That's what the biggest takeout from my experience too.
Thank you, all of you. Are there any questions? Yeah.
So I actually have a question. I feel like the messages that you guys have all been talking to us about are so beautiful, and I think it's super important, especially in social media, to focus on authenticity, because there's so many impressionable people out there, especially girls with body image issues, starting at the age of 10, going up to the age of 60. There's everything that we're trying to alter. We can always be better, and I think the mantras and what you're saying is amazing, but how do you convey that in your real life with photo editing and things like that? I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure on you to obviously be a public figure and put that on social media, but also really live that like in your true lives. And since you are putting yourselves out there, there is always going to be constructive criticism and whatnot. So how do you handle that? I mean, because even for us, like, we have literally been here for 4 days, and I feel like as a New Yorker and someone who is not a social blogger, like, I have been very obsessed with myself and like taking pictures and like trying to seem like I'm doing the coolest thing, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for work. So like, how do you really convey like your true self and like what's real and what's not real, and do you photo edit and what are you kind of trying to put out there to young girls who are struggling? And there's obviously influencers that don't preach like the same positivity that you do. So like, how do you manage that?
So it's a little bit different for me since I'm an editor. So for me, what I guess in terms of like social media, I'm the same way. I've been here, I've been taking photos, you kind of get caught up in it, but I think what I love to do is just sometimes just like literally throw my phone across the room and like try not to touch it, which is hard to say because I'm working right now too, so I get like 500 emails from my boss being like, hey, how did this interview go, and things like that. But I just feel like it's one of those things where when I'm writing an article, I try to be very mindful of like the images that I select. So for example, we use an agency for all our photos when it comes to street style images and things like that, but let's be honest, most of the times like during New York Fashion Week and things like that, it's always like the tall white girl with blonde hair like walking down the street, like, you know what I mean? So we've come up with different protocols and things like that to include different images. So it's, when you are looking at a story, it's just people of all different races, people of all different body types, because it's hard right now in this age of like social media, I feel like, to put out that like perfect image. And it's just something that I think we all have to like work on like internally to like shut that off and be like, hey, you know what, I am perfect the way that I am. I may not be X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't matter. And I think that's just something we have to find little things to do to give ourselves that sanity. So like whether it is shutting your phone off for an hour, not taking 100 photos, things like that, it just takes like a little bit of time, and I think we're all still learning on that process.
So I'm a life coach, so this is like my jam. The first thing I teach every client is before you look at your phone in the morning, because it's linked to stress, whether it's a good message, a bad message, or no message at all, your phone is stressful. Say 5 things you're grateful for and make them different every day. It's scientifically proven now at this point that gratitude is the key to happiness, because happiness is finally becoming a studied thing. The second thing is to build a real community around you. The second that you get over being cool and wanting to be around cool people, I'm not saying that's what you are at all. I mean, this is very cool.
She's
I think.
clearly cool.
I was thinking,
Look at her
this
outfit.
whole
I
thing
mean,
is so
she's
cool.
cool.
It's a facade.
No, totally.
You meet awesome people,
Totally.
but we're all posting the most glamorous versions
Totally.
of what's
It's our
going
highlight
on
reel.
because we have to promote.
Right.
But like at the end of the day, how is that affecting people that
Totally.
see what we're posting?
So gratitude, community, and the third thing, again, these are the 3 key things to true peace. It's not happiness. Happiness is fleeting. It's peace of mind. Because once you have that, stuff's gonna go wrong, but you're like, I got this. Is to reflect, and the way I do that is journal. And it takes work to work on yourself. We work so much for other people, for brands, on our bodies, but we don't like take that minute to just like 5 deep breaths will change your mood anywhere, and that is free. Like, it's so powerful. But going off of like sending that message out to young girls or boys, you know, I go back to this highlight reel, and I talked a lot about this recently. I'm someone who's not afraid to be like, I'm blue and I'm gonna write about this right now and put this on my blog, or talk about how I didn't talk to my father for 8 years, and then something happened where I was like, you know what? I'm 31 now. I understand where he was coming from better, and I'm going to share that because there's someone else out there that's dealing with family problems or just something. And when you're able to show the not so beautiful parts is really what people connect more with you. And it's like fire, and it just takes one little spark to spark someone else's fire, and then it's like we're all ablaze, and it's just I have an expression, this is soul boners for me. It's like inside just so like happy and full, and it's just, I don't know. So again, the key is to just remember we're not curing cancer, but we do have the ability to make incredible change with the amount of people we have on social media and on our platforms. We literally reach, is it billions now? It's billions now. So that's super powerful.
I would talk back to the photo editing part. As a blogger and influencer, we dealing with image every day. We want to post the best photo, possible. I don't think there's any wrong to do editing. It can be a filter you like, the color you want, the lighting you want. It's too dark here, you want it to be brighter. All that I think is technology trick. I don't think there's any wrong. It shows technique. It shows your standard of beauty. Like how do you want your content to be? First, social media is all yours. Whatever you want to do is your channel. If you only want to post glamour, only post glamour. If you want to post, the downside, the blue side, that's perfect too. I think it's really just, to me, stay true is to post whatever you like at the moment. And you are not, shy to talk about it. You're not hiding anything. Saying like, we're talking about, body image. Lots of people might look very different than, real person in photo. That's really truly your believing. You think that's whatever in photo is really you in person. If you truly believe that, do whatever you want. That's what I think. But you can see lots of people, downloads changing into their body, but they're not shy to talk about it because they truly believe it. I think that's a positive thing to do too. I feel to represent who you want to be, people saying, is just the best way to handle social media. And back to the hater thing, I obviously, I think we all do, and I have a lot too. I normally just ignore it, to be honest, because they're not supposed to be part of my community. Sometimes I delete them, sometimes I don't, because I don't want my followers who support me to start a fight, winner because they are here to enjoy my good content, to enjoy my positive, not to fight for me. So sometimes I just feel I don't need them to see those. That's how I handle it.
I just have one quick thing too. So, whenever I interview celebrities, I think you just have this like image in your head of like what you perceive them to be, and it's very interesting to me. Like sometimes when I meet people on an interview, that you kind of get this little like click in your head. You're like, wait, they're actually human too, and like seeing their insecurities like happening in front of you. Because I've had moments like that where I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't know this celebrity actually felt this way or was insecure about this way. It just kind of just makes you step back for a second and be like, okay, I'm not the only person who feels that way, but I feel like it's their job to put up this like whole glamorous facade. But I think on the other side of things, like where we're coming from, it's something that I think we're all gonna have to like take a little second to change and be like, you know what, like I'll post this picture, I don't care if it's like the best shot of me or whatever, but post whatever you want to post. Like in the end, it's like if it makes you happy, who cares about anyone else? So yeah.
We could probably just keep going on with this one question. My biggest piece of advice, if you're truly feeling like overwhelmed and bogged down, go on a hike. Being in nature is so grounding, and just the air, everything around you will kind of just send you out against another science that you're living at this point.
Oh yeah, I kind of just wanted to touch on what you were saying. This is my second swim week I've attended, and last year when I attended, I was utterly terrified to come here as like not a size 0 person that was coming for work. I was like, I'm going to be around all of these beautiful, beautiful people, like, you know, for a week and feel super self-conscious and like, what am I going to wear? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? It was, yeah. But after being there, seeing like the support of this community and like how inclusive it's gotten, and again, seeing all of it on Instagram first and then coming here and seeing these beautiful women strut down the runway, and you can see, you know, their cellulite and their dimples and like their bodies moving. It was, that to me was more empowering than anything I've ever seen. And I wish other females would get that, be able to go to these shows and feel that feeling, because it's so different from the social media thing. But yeah, so I just wanted to
Say that on your social media. Say all that stuff. You are, whether it's 2 or 2 million, everyone's an influencer in some way, and you have the power to affect someone, and that is gold. I don't know if I'm going to explain to you.
Yeah. It's actually really funny that you say that, because before going to one of the shows, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get some beach time. I literally went to the beach and I was like, oh my god, I don't want to walk outside. Like, look at all these models. Because like literally in front of me, there was a girl doing a full-on photo shoot, and I was like, hey, here I am in my one piece. Like, let's go. Like, let's get this started. So I know. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm all for it. I'm just saying, like, it's funny because I also had that little moment where I was watching one of the shows and I saw all the girls walk down and I'm like, oh my gosh, they have cellulite too, okay, and they're gorgeous as hell and they're living their best life. Guess what, maybe I can do this too. So it's like when you see that, I think it gives you a little bit more of that like happiness and clarity of like being comfortable in your own skin. But I think like hopefully over time, like media, publications and stuff will start showing more of that rather than just like, this was the latest fashion show where this XYZ person showed off their cellulite and like just call out that one moment. I think it has to be something more prevalent where it happens like in an everyday kind of form.
Yeah.
And hopefully other brands will start doing that as well soon. But I feel you on that, like 100%. So.
I think that's a really nice way to start to wrap up. I mean, just this idea of representation, you have to see yourself and other people to develop into that, right? And even going back to your point about the Instagram, I think, yes, post whatever makes you feel happy, but you said something interesting, 2 or 2 million, we all have influence, however many followers you have, and even just taking a little bit of responsibility. If you're posting photos of yourself at the beach, like I definitely am. I'm also posting stories of my toddler like tearing through my kitchen at 4 a.m. and like it's just like this is my real life, So I think however you choose to do that, it's taking the responsibility and knowing that other people are going to see what you are promoting about yourself and being a bit more considered and thoughtful.
And that's okay. Like, if you want to post something that's edited and beautiful and glamorous and you look hot, like, then like, I look so hot in this photo, but this is not real. This is not my real life. Like, my legs don't have the thigh gap that is like a mile long. But, you know, it's just what we put out there. And I even in my personal life, with like my assistants and things like that, like there's some things that I do want to control because it is not the most appropriate. Or if I look amazing, I would be like, I own it. I look amazing. I am putting this out there. But I think it's just interesting, you know, and I follow a ton of people in fashion, not in fashion, in health and wellness and whatever. And, you know, we can all say namaste, but at the end of the day, like, are you being authentic to yourself? And you can post whatever you want. It's a free country, but people are going to see what you do, and it affects them. So it's definitely interesting. You know, and I'm definitely interested in the longevity of influencers and how long that's going to last. Because what is the next thing after Instagram? Like, how are these influencers going to be affected by the next best thing? And if it's faceless, you know, what does that look like? Is it, and it's going to be something that's more verbal than something that's more physical. So it's interesting.
And that's why conversations like this are so important. So I think we've run out of time, but we're going to be around to chat. So yeah, thank you so much.